Happy Tuesday. Welcome to November's Tech Talk with Pratik. I'm your host, Pratik Patel, a technology consultant with Ingram Micro. As you know, I love using this forum to showcase the latest innovations so you can uncover new sales opportunities, identify the best solutions, and help your customers to modernize their infrastructure. In that regard, this month we'll continue with the focus on storage solutions that incorporate Veeam and Lenovo. In fact, you could actually consider this session part 2 of our storage solutions theme that we've started from last month. So just to kind of recap, last month we investigated the Veeam backup and replication platform that integrates with the Lenovo ThinkSystem DM and DE storage solutions. We also saw a live demonstration of the Veeam platform. In my opinion, it was a great session, and we received a lot of great feedback. But before we begin, I want to hand it over to Jamie Tarkowski to provide us some info on some exclusive Ingram Micro promotions.
Sure. Thanks, Pratik. So first and foremost, we have our Ingram Lenovo Booster Program. If you have not already opted into the Booster Program, I dropped a link in the chat. So please go ahead, click through that, get opted in. It's a no strings attached program. Gives you access to things like free pre-sales tech support, demos on both sides of the business, both ISG and IDG demos available for you. And then things like MDF, which is super important going into 2023. So get registered. Any questions on that, just let me know. Once you're registered for the booster program, that then allows you to opt into our Yellowstone contest. Our Yellowstone contest is taking into consideration sales from July 4th through March 31st of 2023. And as long as you hit certain goals on both sides of the business, both ISG and IDG, and you show at least 10% growth after hitting those goals, we're going to take the top 10 partners to Yellowstone with us in July of 2023. So regardless of when you opt into the contest, all your sales from July 4th through March 31st will count. One thing I want to note, though, is it's only Lenovo sales going through Ingram Micro, no other disting. Okay. I also threw that into the chat. And then we have a couple different promos going on I just want to touch on. I'll send in the follow-up later in the week. First, of course, with our partners at Veeam, when you sell the full solution, so storage, server, and software, we are offering 5% off the hardware, 15% off of the Veeam software. And then the other promo that I'll send out is in the spirit of Lenovo 360. When you buy 2 or more workstations on the IDG side, you'll get up to $1,500 off the Lenovo DE storage series. So plenty of good things going on. And any questions on anything I talked about?
I don't see anything in the chat, but I do actually have one. I know you said for the Yellowstone, they're going to be taking the top 10. But, what I actually heard was, there are like a number of partners that could actually win outright, but, they just haven't registered for Yellowstone. What are your thoughts, and how can you help?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a good call out, Pratik. As we look at the numbers and we see what everyone has sold so far through Ingram on both sides of the business at Lenovo, there are plenty of you out there that would be in the top 5 for winning this contest. So if you haven't opted in yet, either use the link that I threw in the chat, or we're going to make it very simple for you. Go ahead and send me an email. I put my email in there as well. Say, Jamie, please opt me into the Yellowstone contest. Include your Ingram Micro account number, and we'll get you taken care of. If you send me an email, I will respond to you, just so you know that I got you opted in. If you don't hear from me by the end of the day, after you sent me that email, reach out again, because I may have missed it. But good call out, Pratik.
Yep. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Let's kind of continue. The way I kind of see it is, having discussed storage solutions in October, I thought we could look at them just in a different perspective. For me, hybrid cloud and multi-cloud have really been those technology trends that have really generated a lot of attention from my partners. This is due to the fact that organizations are really hesitant to fully commit to a total migration into the public cloud, and are, really leaning more and more towards using a combination of, let's say, a hybrid approach with private cloud and, public cloud. Basically, what I see is that, that's really why the analysts have seen that, requests to discuss hybrid cloud has really, increased by over 15% over the past few years, and then along the same lines, multi-cloud is a strategic use of numerous clouds, numerous cloud compute, storage, and software services that really originate from a combination of public cloud, private cloud, and software as a service or platform as a service provider. This approach really lets organizations pick the best cloud deployment model for their applications and use cases. But in almost every cloud conversation, one component usually gets left out of the conversation, and that is storage. So my goal today is to understand how storage plays a critical role in the overall solution, whether it's on-prem, private cloud, public cloud, distributed cloud, or just a combination of all of them. So that's precisely why my panel of experts from Veeam and Lenovo are here today. If you've actually attended any of my previous Tech Talk sessions, you'll recognize that my panelists, as they've been my really go-to resources for all things storage, data management, and data protection. So joining me today are Ron Martin, a senior solutions architect with Veeam. Hello, Ron. Thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us about your role and why you believe customers really trust and rely on Veeam as actually a complete solution for their data protection?
Hey, sure, Pratik. Thanks for having me on. By the way, my name is Ron Martin. I work for Veeam. I actually roll up into our product management organization and have an alliance focus. My primary task is to work with our alliance partners like Lenovo to develop joint solutions. Actually, I'm exclusively tasked with Lenovo, so I have a singular focus there. Well, and I guess the good news is, as far as your question goes, is why do people like Veeam solution so much? You don't have to rely on my word as a vendor. You've probably heard of like this term Net Promoter Score, right? And Net Promoter Score is essentially I guess an affinity metric that is basically, how much would you recommend our product? I mean, do you recommend it or really not? And, there's a continuum on the NPS. It ranges from like -100 to +100. And, in our market segment that is, kind of backup and DR, the average like Net Promoter Score is somewhere between a +10 and a +30. And whereas Veeam, our Net Promoter Scores it's been high, continues to rise. It currently sits at a +82, which actually puts us as a higher Net Promoter Score than brands like, Apple and Starbucks and Tesla. So we're not just a trusted brand for backup and replication and DR. We're, kind of one of the most trusted brands, kind of across the board. And you're welcome to go to veeam.com, and there's a blog on it, all that. But I mean, I think people love us because, in a nutshell, we're simple, flexible, and reliable.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Ron. Next, we have Mark Clayton, a principal solutions architect with Lenovo. Hey, Mark. Thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us about your role and really
Sure.
why do you think partners really turn to Lenovo for storage innovations?
Sure, Pratik. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Clayton, principal architect on the Lenovo ISG, covering North America. And as far as my role, I'm just one of the go-to storage guys here. I'm one of 3 architects that cover all North America, and we cover everybody from small SMB customers all the way up to really large globals, and pretty much any vertical you can think of. Either we've been in this business for a very long time, so we can either talk the talk tracks right off the top of our head, or we definitely know who to tap on the shoulder to have the right conversations. In regards to why customers and partners come to Lenovo, is because of the breadth of the portfolio that we've built, right? So whether it's small edge solutions, in devices, perfect example, Gartner just released a report that said that, back in like 2018, when we were talking about edge appliances or data being collected on the edge, that was, sub 10%. And by 2026, we're talking about over 75% of all the data that's being collected is going to be at the edge. So, it's a matter of how fast can we collect that data? How fast can we segregate the good from the bad data and the stuff that actually has value, and then bring that valuable data that we did decide to keep back to the data center and then do something with it, right? So we have solutions, from every scale and size to be able to accomplish that for the customer's needs or their vertical. And I think that's the reason why people are looking at us for help, because whether it's the edge appliances, whether it's enterprise storage, whether it's HCI in multiple flavors, or whether it's hybrid cloud, or even public cloud offerings, we can do it. We can pretty much do it all.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Mark. And now we have Ryan Scherrer, a channel account manager with Lenovo. Hello, Ryan. It's great to have you join us again.
Yeah, appreciate
Could
it.
you
Happy to be here.
Perfect. Yeah. Could you tell us about your role and why your role is really critical to my channel partners and VARs in terms of delivering, the storage solutions to their customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role really is centered all around the channel and distribution, helping all of our partner base, no matter how small or large they are, to sell our storage solutions more, but also just kind of be more aware of what's going on, how we can help, where we fit. If you don't know about it now, I can help with anything from trainings or, kind of syncing you up with people with Mark, helping get people on the phone with end user conversations. We can help get different demos set up. And really, we're constantly evolving and adding to our storage portfolio. In the last several months, we've added several things that people probably don't even know about that go beyond our DEDM storage units that we talk about consistently. So really, I like to say I'm the perfect middleman between somebody who's super, super technical and can go really deep, and somebody that, is just, hey, I don't know anything about Lenovo storage. Where do I start? What can I look at? And I like to kind of play that part and get people rolling.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Ryan. I think we'll talk a little bit more about your role, I guess, in a little bit later on. But what I want to kind of say here is basically, please note that we'll be sharing the recording once it's posted on YouTube, and I want you to put your questions into the chat. If there's something that your customer has been asking you, or there's something that just doesn't make sense to you, this is your time to ask that question. So definitely, leverage that chat box. But enough for me. Let's get to my panelists. Mark, let me begin with you. I heard several new storage offerings were announced in the recent Lenovo Tech World. Do you mind kind of giving us a rundown of those offerings? Oh,
You're
I
on
think
mute.
you're
Audibly would be better, but
Got me. Yeah. So this year at Tech World, one of the big emphasis was, flexibility, ease of use, and as well as conscious to environmental impact, right? So we're talking about, everybody wanting to be the fastest track to net zero, right? And carbon emissions and so forth. And that's a heavy emphasis of things that we're working on today across the entire portfolio, whether it's the servers or the storage. Optimizing the systems to use less power, better cooling options. So we're not using so much AC, water cooled servers, example. So that was a lot of the emphasis this year, and what there's a big marketing campaign around, basically from pocket to the cloud, which pretty much means that we have solutions for pretty much everything out there, from cell phones to laptops to tablets to enterprise storage to cloud offerings. So there really isn't anything in the customer's portfolio and the customer's data center needs that we can't help out with. As far as storage offerings, the two main ones that were mentioned this year were a new new DE offering. So there's two different flavors. There's what's called the DE 6400 and one's called the DE 6600, and they're a continuation of the existing DE models. But this year they're literally twice as fast, both in throughput as well as CPU, and there's already a lot of attention. Let's just put it that way. And we can't quote them fast enough. We're having a lot of conversations with them.
So then, Mark, what was the driver or the gap that Lenovo was trying to fill with this new offering?
The reason why we got these new offerings was we kept at HPC. Let's just put it that way. AI and ML, with everything right now, all that edge gathering I was talking about earlier, and trying to decipher what's good data from just white noise, right? And actually what to save versus what has value. A lot of customers need, systems that are able to differentiate quickly, the value of the data. So these systems were really brought in by the HPC team and customers looking for AI and ML. They needed something very fast, supported, say, InfiniBand, to try to get even faster. And these are NVMe based arrays, so they're super quick, and again a 2x offering from what we currently had.
Okay, so yeah, I know you mentioned sustainability. Are there any other like storage related storylines that we should kind of keep an eye on? I know maybe for next year.
There have been some newer additions as well and partnerships to the storage portfolio. So we do have partnerships now with Weka and with Vast. Extending that HPC offering, right? Because back in the day, if we were speaking to a customer that had 10 terabytes of data, that was a large customer, right? And now we're talking, we start the conversation at a petabyte, 10 petabytes. I'm currently working on a 200 plus petabyte solution right now. So there's no lack of data that's being collected. And with some of these other partnerships that we've now invited into the portfolio, we have better options to go down depending on what the customer is looking for to host these large data lakes and then be able to help parse through them and put the right data in the right place at the right speed.
So then, Mark, since you kind of mentioned that's the DE6400 and the DE6600 solutions, could you kind of walk us through some use cases so really my channel partners can really understand how and when to really position them?
Yeah. So continuing with the AI and ML, I mean, it's not so much heavy in life sciences, heavy in healthcare, as in genomics. That's another one that we're having a lot of conversations. But really, it's probably the biggest bulk of the conversations we're having recently is security, video surveillance AI, and so a lot of people have really upped their security camera game or just cameras in general, streaming cameras, and they're implementing AI software to look at these data feeds now, and not just so much from a security standpoint, but more of also to get better use of things that they're doing today. I'll give you an example. There's a university on the East Coast that I worked with that is using. We started off as a Veeam conversation, as starting with backup, and coming to find out they were using the DE target with Veeam to host video data, and then as we're having a conversation, we found out that they actually could utilize a DM to run the AI software to look at the data that's coming off these streaming cameras. And one of the main projects that they had was they were running out of real estate on the campus, and they thought that they needed to build a new building. And so this software helped them prove that they had a computer lab on the end of the campus that was heavily underutilized. And so they were able to consolidate their data centers, or their computer labs, and repurpose that real estate and save them a ton of money, and they didn't have to go and buy new property or build a new building. So it's not always about just security, so there's people are finding really cool ways to analyze these video streams. So that if I had to say it is an easy door opener to have a conversation about these new DE systems, that could be one of them, is video surveillance for sure, or just video offerings in general.
Right. So then just kind of follow up just on that one. So when you say video surveillance, is that more computer vision that you're kind of speaking to?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure I understood that, because I know I've kind of talked about computer vision and AI all throughout the year, so I wanted to kind of correlate that. But one last follow up for me, Mark. Where can the audience go to really get more information, just like the specifications and case studies on those offerings?
Sure. So a great place to go and look at all the storage offerings right now is a new site that I'm going to drop right here in the chat. It's LenovoStorageCentral.com. And it's a new landing page that we have for the whole storage portfolio. And you'll see Veeam all over it, because for pretty much every use case in every vertical, we have validated architectures, that are proven out there. So definitely take a look there. And then if you want to get more details on the new DE platforms, let me grab that link and throw it in the chat. Lenovo Press is obviously your go-to, right? And I just posted the direct link to the new systems. And what's great about the updated spec sheets is that if you look right on the front page, right at the very top, we've added 38 case studies on these new systems right now, and you could easily go through and review these case studies, download them yourself, and learn them, and be able to have the talk tracks yourself with your customers.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Mark. I know a lot of my partners have actually leveraged those use cases on multiple occasions. So definitely that was a great new update that Lenovo made to their Lenovo Press releases. So definitely worked out great. So now, Ryan, as a Lenovo CAM or channel account manager, what are you working on in regards to the new DE offering? That can really help my partners, to better position Lenovo solutions to their customers.
I'm just trying to get the word out at this point, right? It's really just making people aware that we have another offering, that we've added something else. We have conversations every day with partners that don't even know what we offered in DE before these two, right? So it's another cool thing to talk about that we've added to our portfolio, just to reinforce the fact that we're constantly evolving, we're constantly adding new things, and we're constantly taking a look at, is there a space that we don't have, something that fits maybe better than what we already offer, right? The way I kind of position it or use it is to Mark's point, it's 2x performance of the DE equivalent prior. So I kind of look at it as you can get DM performance at the aggressive price point of a DE if you don't need all of the features and rich kind of stuff that the DM comes with. So it kind of allows you to get in there at that aggressive price point, but now at a performance level that you couldn't prior.
So Ryan, on another note, I understand there will be a shift within the hyper-converged infrastructure offering that's part of the Lenovo Think Agile portfolio, and that may actually have a direct effect on that storage offering. For that reason, could you kind of elaborate on this change and help us understand how it impacts my partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, as was mentioned, the Think Agile VX appliance is kind of shifted over to being covered under the storage umbrella. The reasoning for it really is, kind of looking at it from a high level. Storage plays such a large part in HCI, infrastructure or build, that it kind of made sense to start having the storage team be more involved and engaged with it. Not, beyond the fact that storage plays a huge part in the physical appliance that's getting built and how it's getting put together and configured, there's additional things that people need to be considering when they're deploying that. We have an amazing offering to be able to pair a DE with a VX appliance in Veeam so that you still have an on-site backup from your HCI infrastructure to that, and then obviously offload it to the cloud like most people do as well. So it kind of just allows us to touch something that's already so storage heavy that we can now kind of help support, as well as say, hey, you're looking at this, you should also be making sure that you're talking about this, and this, because it all goes as one thing.
Okay. Yep. So just to clarify, Ryan, will this change affect the revenue or how the revenue is really counted towards the tiering requirements? In other words, if you remember those tiering accelerator multipliers, are they affected as part of this change?
They are, yeah. So as of this quarter starting, it'll be anything storage. That 8x multiplier we have is anything that falls under the storage category. And because VX appliance is now under the storage category, you'll get 8x revenue recognition on that as well. So it's really, really beneficial to look at, especially too, one thing I want to point out is if you're a Dell heavy partner or you talk to people that have Dell infrastructure, right? Dell sells a lot of VX Rail. It's out there. A lot of people are using it. We really, really go head to head with that, and we kind of surpass it in a few different areas. Anybody that wants to talk about it or go deeper, we're happy to do so. But the high level overview or the reasoning why is that, VX Rail is really, they created a proprietary software that truthfully is expensive, and it locks you in when you do it that way, and you're paying for something that really VMware's already solved the problem. The vCenter, the integrations and everything that's built in, and the fact that we are a certified appliance, and we've solved the issue that Dell claimed to have solved by making a special software that they force people to buy. So beyond a price point conversation, there's just a lot of things to look at from a licensing perspective that kind of solves things long term as well. So it's just another thing to consider and make sure you're bringing up, or you're at least willing to have the conversation and look at the alternative.
Thank you, Ron. Right. One thing I want to kind of mention is the tier accelerator multipliers, the 8x that Ryan kind of mentioned. If it's a storage or even a VX solution now, it's a 8x multiplier. So simple math here. If you have a 50K opportunity a deal that actually multiplied by 8 turns out to be a 400, it counts as 400K towards your revenue. So that with one deal, if you're an authorized, you would automatically be qualified for silver. So just think of it that way. But
I think
sorry
too,
to
it's
make that
still
yeah.
8x on services too, I think too, right? So you sell
Oh, yeah.
sell a warranty, you sell data migration services, you sell install services with Lenovo, like all of that stuff is multiplied at 8 times as well. So, I mean, the honest truth is if you go find yourself one good storage deal, not anything crazy, right? Even if it's $60,000, $70,000, I mean, you're easily going from authorized to silver just like that. You're already getting all the benefits, and then it's just kind of, you can gain momentum and go from there. It's just a very easy way to get yourself lined up and earning more.
Yeah, perfect. I love the way you put that. So just a note to everyone, if you're not sure what these multipliers are or don't know how to really apply them, the way I would say is how to game the system, please reach out to Ingram Micro and we can help you with that. So that's it. Let me move on to Ron. Ron, last month, my Veeam technical manager delivered a Lenovo DM Series Plus Veeam backup and replication demo. The audience really got to see the integration, the capabilities, and just the ease of use of those solutions. Talking about the backup and replication platform, I understand there's a V12 being released shortly. So my question here is, can you kind of walk us through some of the changes that we should be expecting?
Well, how much time do we have? There's like 100 new features, so I'll
The
try
top
to
ones, let's do that.
I'll distill it down for sure. So, so firstly, I mean, to address questions you have about release. So we have slipped this one out a couple times, as some of you are probably aware of your Veeam partner as well. And last 2 weeks ago at our Veeam On update event, Danny Allen stated that our target again is RTM middle of January, and then full release the end of January. So that's, fingers crossed, it's a target, it's what we're shooting for, and hopefully we'll get there. So you should see a V12 pretty soon. So I guess first, with respect to our DM series and our ONTAP integration in general, I mean, there really no significant changes there as far as V12 goes. It's one of our most long-standing integrations that a big cross section of our customers use, and you can expect the same backup from storage snapshot options, recovery options to work with V12, just like you're used to using them with ONTAP. So, I mean, as far as headline features go, I mean, really the big one is, and in going back to Pratik's intro with public cloud, private cloud, and whatnot, is the promotion of object storage to a first-class citizen in terms of primary backup storage. So literally, I've been with Veeam 7 years. This is something that our alliance partners, particularly our storage partners, have been asking for a long time. Is like, hey, when are you gonna let us go directly to object storage for that primary backup? And so we've done it. You're gonna get your wish with V12. Now, of course, you need to make sure, and instead of just rushing to object storage as a one size fits all sort of solution, obviously you need to make sure that this object storage platform, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud you're evolving to, is going to meet your RTOs, right? It's not that it's just, we know that people have a tendency just to use the cheapest storage they can find for backup and not think about what implications that has for recovery. But in a very ransomware centric world, I mean, you got to think about recovery, right? And you got to think about recovery at scale. So again, just you've still got to apply some metrics to this. So, but it does open up several use cases for us. Like for instance, Mark and I did a session last week where we talked about how we kind of map Veeam kind of overlays their edge core cloud story, and say you do have a 350 or 450 device way out on the edge, and maybe it has limited connectivity back into the core data center, but it has good internet connectivity. I mean, you could now you could just dump your backups directly off that edge device to the cloud if you so desired. So again, it opens up some additional capabilities. And one thing, this is not new for V12, but one thing I did want to mention relative to this whole notion of migrating to cloud and whatnot. A lot of people have like probably over-rotated to cloud. And with Veeam, if you have a Veeam backup, whether it's a cloud-native workload with one of our appliances for Google Cloud or Amazon or Azure, or an ordinary backup, I mean, we can restore an ordinary backup, whether it's an agent backup or Nutanix backup or VMware backup to cloud. But we can also bring them back. So if you're thinking about repatriation, we can make backup copies from the cloud back to on-prem, and then use our migration capabilities to repatriate if you want. So again, the idea is that we'll help you get to cloud, but if you need to dial it back, we can also help you with that too. I mean, beyond that, with V12, lots of security enhancements. We're introducing, for instance, multi-factor authentication for the console. We've extended Kerberos support to all the VBR components to NFS. We're actually working with a Microsoft technology called Group Managed Service Account, so that you could reduce the number of stored credentials you have in your Veeam store. On the application side, we're adding a SQL plugin. We're adding support for Postgres, not just for application aware, but actually for the core, Veeam backup and database, and then a lot of fine-grained things, which I don't really think we probably have time for, but just making your backups more flexible, I think would suffice. And one thing I did want to mention, I mean, one of the I guess newer products, even though it's been out for a while, is if you're doing private cloud relative to like Nutanix HX or the Lenovo HX with Nutanix, we've added a ton of new features for the way that we handle backups with Nutanix, including adding native files, change file tracking support into our files backup. So again, that's probably all we have time for, but yeah, some of my favorites there. So.
Oh, perfect. I love that. The top 10 list there. I like that. So, I know you mentioned recoverability, and that kind of reminds me of a question a partner was discussing. It was a question that a customer asked them. It was something to the effect of really, with Veeam, are you able to verify the data recoverability? How would you respond to that?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great question, because obviously having a backup is way better than no backup, but having a backup that you can recover from is ideal, right? So there are, I guess, a range of technologies that we supply just with core backup and replication there. Instant VM recovery. I mean, if you just wanted to say, I've got a workload out there, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an agent backup from a physical server or Nutanix or Hyper-V or whatever. We can run instant VM recovery on that to Hyper-V or VMware. So you could always test that boot up to make sure that backup was good or that restore point was good. But then beyond that, we have this idea of Sure Backup or data labs, where we can actually take a set of VMs. Maybe you have an authentication layer, maybe you have a LDAP of some sort, whether it's Active Directory or something else, and a presentation layer, maybe a web server, a database server, a middleware server. You can boot up an application stack and then test it really end to end to make sure that not only when it boots up, you get a you can ping it, you can ping the VM, that you get a VMware tools heartbeat, but also that you can check make sure something's listening on port 443 or the SQL browser service is active. I mean, you can do those sorts of things, and you can do them interactively, which what we call data labs, or you can schedule those, which we call Sure Backup, so that you can run those, and then we'll send you reports and tell you that thumbs up or thumbs down. And then we do have some other capabilities. It's a little less well known, but we have something called the Data Integration API. And Data Integration API is just a fancy way of saying we have some PowerShell commandlets that let you mount a backup as a LUN to pretty much any host, and then you can go and interrogate it. And for instance, I help one of our other alliance partners with this clean room solution, where they would go iteratively mount backups from customers and run their advanced scanning engines on them. So anyway, yeah, lots of different out of the box and roll your own sorts of capabilities there.
Perfect. Yeah. I knew the answer. I just wanted to hear from you, but it's good to hear. So, Ron, what we've kind of heard so far, really, what advice do you have for my partners that are on the call today, as they're kind of working with their customers who are considering Veeam as their, data protection solution?
Right. Well, I guess one from kind of a macro perspective, I mean, Veeam is very 100% channel centric in our business model. So, there's no plans to deviate from that in any way. So as far as working with partners go, yeah, we're very partner centric. But then in terms of, how you communicate, Veeam value to your customers, I mean, I think there are a couple different kind of macro level things I would say. One is, there is a huge urgency around cybersecurity and ransomware now. And so, any of your customers are using maybe legacy backup solutions or maybe no backup solutions. Ransomware is a great leverage point with customers to get them to either move to something more modern or improve their security posture somehow. And the good news with Veeam is, a lot of times we don't, particularly for a larger customer, they don't just replace everything, all their current DR and backup capabilities with Veeam. But a lot of times, the partner opportunity there is to what we call land and expand, right? I mean, start backing up your VMs or start backing up your NAS. You get a foothold with Veeam, and then you can expand it. And then back to what you mentioned before and what we talked about before. That migration story. Your customers that want to get to cloud, or maybe they want to get back from cloud. Veeam supports that whole migration to and repatriation from story. So we want to make sure that one of the other, I guess, leverage points with your customers is with Veeam, we make that easy. And then there are great cross-sell opportunities. So the core backup and replication stuff is our flagship, and we have a huge following. But hey, you also need to protect your SaaS. You need to protect your Office 3. I'm sorry, not Office 365. Your Microsoft 365 deployments. Or if they're a Salesforce customer, guess what? We just shipped a backup for Salesforce product. So again, you can get in there with Veeam. You can land and expand, and then you can expand to SaaS beyond that.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Ron. So Mark, as I mentioned kind of earlier, and I know Ron has mentioned it several times, majority of my partner conversations revolve around that, hybrid and multi-cloud conversation. How is Lenovo helping to really address the demand with the storage solution?
Well, I guess it depends on which angle that the customers are looking to go down, right? Whether it's something that is on-prem, like a ThinkSystem DM that has hybrid cloud capabilities with cloud volumes on tap and all the major hyperscalers, and capabilities of being able to do multi-cloud or even cloud-to-cloud backups or replications, or if it's wanting to go down the HCI avenue, and we have multiple flavors there, right? So, as Ron's mentioned, the ThinkSystem VX, which is vSAN, we have the HX, which is Nutanix, and then the MX, which is Azure, right? So, it all depends on what the customer is looking for. But yeah, we definitely have pretty much any solution that they need to like I said before, kind of put the data at the right place at the right time, right? And under the right budget, and then make sure that it's secured. Even from a ransomware perspective, each one of these offerings has their own safety and security capabilities. But at the end of the day, still backing them up with Veeam, and then doing like immutable copies with Veeam on-prem, and then maybe even replicating it to one of our Veeam's cloud partners like Wasabi, for example, and make sure that the data is protected there, right? So we really can just help out anyway, and have quite the hybrid cloud conversation. It just depends on what they're looking for.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you. So I know, Ryan, we're going to shift gears a little bit here, but with supply chain and availability being really top of mind for many of my partners, could you kind of give us insight into what they should expect coming up for now, end of this year and even next year?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously it's been a challenging few years. We all know that. The saying was for a long time, the new normal. What's the new normal? We're figuring out what that is. The new normal, I think, for a little bit is that there's still going to be challenges. I will say the amount of parts that are causing constraints is drastically less, but it's always like that one that's very needed, that's in like power supplies, for example, right? And so power supplies aren't everything. So of course, everything now gets hit because that one piece, whereas, last year it was a combination of memory drives. It was a slew of things. So I will say things have gotten a lot better, especially with us. We've struggled a little bit with storage, but we've kind of come around. Our DE line is very strong in terms of supply right now. We're committing 4 weeks roughly ship times in a lot of cases, and I've been seeing that getting delivered upon. It's worth mentioning this last year, when things were really bad, Lenovo was named number 9 by Gartner in supply chain, and that was putting us above both Dell and HPE, right? So we constantly are evolving, finding ways to kind of get around it and make sure our partners can get the things that they need in the time that they need it. Another thing we're working on launching, I think comes out tomorrow, is SMB Express. Storage is not in that, but it will be in the coming few months. And basically what it is it's the configurator tool that you've probably all used and like at this point. We've added an option to it that basically will only show you things that we can guarantee you we will ship in 4 weeks or less. We're not gonna, it's basically a, hey, what does Lenovo have in stock? It's kind of eyes into what we have and what we can commit to. So, it's just another way that we've kind of focused in and said, hey, we need to find a solution to this. And I think that was a really good way to do it.
Yeah, perfect. I'm glad you mentioned SMB Express. So anyone on the call here, if you have questions, definitely reach out to the Ingram Micro team. They can definitely help with that. I know it's a new program, but I think it'll be very beneficial. So, definitely reach out if you have any questions. And finally, I have a question for all my guests. What are you seeing and really hearing about the next evolution in the storage industry? Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Everything's going hybrid. Everything that's not hybrid, everything that went full cloud is coming back around. Everything that was fully on site that didn't go full cloud because they didn't like it when it was happening, now they're happy that they didn't do it because they're developing a hybrid strategy and doing it right from the beginning, right? So that's all coming around. There's a lot of different pieces and parts to it. And I think it's the right thing. I think it's natural that it was going to happen. I think people got way too excited about being able to just toss everything in one place and pretend it's, all taken care of. So, with that being said, storage is still a necessary piece. Having something on site, having a reliable backup that, you can test and prove works, all right? Because it's, we've had people that, I have a great backup solution, and then everything falls apart and they go to recover it and it doesn't recover half of what they thought they were going to be able to, right? So it's just huge. Our channel community, like you guys, the partners on this call, the silver authorized gold partners, they make up over 60% of our DEDM channel revenue, right? So really the thing I want to get out there is like we're here to support you. And with that, I also want your feedback. I want it, whether it's good, whether it's bad. If there's something that you feel you could be selling easier or better or more of, but we don't have it, or you don't think we have it, I want to know about it, right? Like I want to know what we need to continue evolving and adding and changing so that you can sell more and continue to own the majority share of this market and business for us. So other than that, though, I appreciate the invite today, Pratik.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Ryan. This was great. Ron, what has been your experience? I think you're muted.
Now I did it. I made fun of Mark, so that's what
There
I
you
get.
go.
So no, I would mostly just echo Ryan. I think hybridity is going to be the new norm, and then as far as the Veeam evolution goes, making sure you have that mobility, which we've talked about already, and then object storage as a first class citizen is certainly a mechanism to make that recovery and repatriation if necessary. Step a lot easier. So
perfect. Yep. Thank you, Ron. Mark, what are you seeing in the industry?
I have to agree with what Ron was just saying about S3 being a first class citizen. I mean, having those conversations on a daily basis, and they used to just be for backups. And the last couple of years when they went to all flash S3 appliances, for example, in the DMs, you could do that, and we've been selling a ton of it. And now being able to do primary workloads on S3, maybe that's a good topic for the next Tech Talk, is some of the stuff coming in ONTAP 9.12.1 in the near future. Yeah, but S3 is going to be hint, wink. It's going to be a big topic, S3 for sure. So, and there's a lot more. I think S3 was one of those things where it came and applications weren't ready for it. And now with iterations and different versions of new applications, they're almost being developed towards S3 first, right? And now everything is kind of caught up, and so you see a lot more S3 integration. And like I said, we're having the conversations daily, and to the point where doing a lot of EBCs right now. If you guys don't know that we have a great EBC center here in the Raleigh, Durham area and Morrisville at our headquarters, and I got 3 happening this week. I have some scheduled for next week. I mean, it's the more the word gets out of what we're able to do, the more we're inviting people down to the EBC. Please come check it out, and we'll be glad to show you and your customers what we have available.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Mark. Just to kind of clarify, if you've never heard about the EBC is the Executive Briefing Center here in Morrisville, North Carolina. It's a demo center like I don't think you've ever seen. I've been in several different demo centers, so I can say this one's amazing with the way they have a demonstration, and pretty much whenever they're doing their presentations, they just need to go up 1 or 2 floors and they can talk to an SME right there. So, any questions can be handled right away. But, I just want to kind of, thank you for everyone for that great insight. And, I know if you came in maybe a few minutes late, you would have thought this was a storage tech talk, and it turned out to be a hybrid cloud and multi-cloud one. So I love it. My plan worked at the end. So, definitely happy about that. I know we're kind of coming to an end here. So what I wanted to do is kind of be respectful of everyone's time and really just kind of pause it here. But, what I wanted to do is leave you with a couple of thoughts here. My key takeaway from today's session is that when you combine the Veeam platform with the Lenovo integration, you provide customers with that unprecedented choice and flexibility for deploying business services on the solution that really best fits their customer needs. So I advise that, you reach out to the Lenovo or Ingram Micro team to kind of find out more about it. But, definitely, I know we're getting to the end here, but in conclusion, what I really wanted to say was I wanted to thank my guests, Ronn Martin with Veeam, Mark Clayton and Ron Scherrer with Lenovo. That's it for me. Thank you to everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Pratik.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. See you on the next one.
Thanks for the idea, Mark.
No problem. Talk soon.